All right, folks, ready for a deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty massive, the preamble to the Indian Constitution.
You got it, the DNA of India, right?
Exactly. And whether you're prepping for the UPSC or just curious about how India works, well,
This deep dive is for you.
for you.
You see, the preamble, it's not just some old legal text, tucked away somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing declaration.
Okay.
It's India's hopes and dreams, its very soul.
Hmm.
And it's super relevant for every Indian citizen, especially, those folks tackling Indian polity for the UPSC.
So like a blueprint for the ideal India almost.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it as the mission statement for the whole country. Drafted way back,
Oh, wow.
November 26, 1949. It's based on Pandit Nehru's Objectives Resolution. It tells us, where we came from and where we're going.
Okay, so big question right off the bat. Who holds the power in India?
The preamble answers that right away. We, the people of India. Right, this is the principle of popular sovereignty. The people have the power.
Cornerstone of Indian democracy. Definitely need to know that for those UPSC essays.
Absolutely.
All right, so the people have the power. But what kind of nation are we building? What does the preamble say about India as a state?
It gets interesting here. The preamble outlines 5 key things: sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic.
5 big words.
Oh, yeah. Each one carefully chosen, debated, interpreted, especially by legal scholars and, UPSC aspirants.
I bet. 5 big words with even bigger implications. Let's take them one by one. Starting with sovereign. What's that mean, practically?
Sovereignty means India is independent, free from external control. It governs itself, makes its own laws, charts its own course.
Okay.
It can even acquire or cede territory, which is, a core attribute of a sovereign nation.
Hold on. But isn't India part of the Commonwealth?
Yeah?
The UN? Does that not limit sovereignty a bit?
That's a sharp question. It's a common misconception, though. Being a member of these organizations, it doesn't diminish India's sovereignty. India joined them voluntarily, based on shared interests, not because it had to.
Okay.
It keeps the right to act in its own best interests and could even withdraw if it wanted to.
So ultimately, India calls the shots.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, on to a word that always sparks debate, especially with India's economic journey. Socialist. What does that really mean in the Indian context?
Well, India's socialism is unique. It's not about, abolishing private property or complete state control.
Right.
It's democratic socialism,
Okay.
where public and private sectors coexist, working together for everyone's welfare.
So finding a balance, not all or nothing.
Precisely. Creating a society that's prosperous and just, where economic growth goes hand in hand with social justice.
Makes sense.
Of course, the 1991 reforms with liberalization and privatization,
Right.
that sparked debates on, how they fit with the socialist ideal in the preamble.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue that requires, nuanced understanding, especially for those, deep diving into Indian economics for the UPSC.
A lot to unpack there.
Yes.
Okay, up next is secular. Now, this is a word that carries a lot of weight in a diverse nation like India.
Right.
What's the core of secularism as it's in the preamble?
Secularism in India, it doesn't mean there's no religion. It's about equal treatment and respect for all religions.
Right.
The state doesn't favor any religion or discriminate against any. Everyone's free to practice their faith without, fear or prejudice.
So, peaceful coexistence.
Yeah.
Respecting everyone's right to believe and practice their faith.
Absolutely. And it's not just an ideal. Articles 25 to 28, they specifically guarantee religious freedom as a fundamental right.
Okay.
It makes sure this principle is protected in practice. That link between the preamble and specific articles, that's something UPSC aspirants should really note.
Definitely. All right, on to democratic. Seems pretty straightforward. India is a democracy.
True. But the preamble is more specific. It says India is a representative parliamentary democracy.
Okay.
This means citizens elect representatives to make decisions for them.
Got it.
It's about channeling the will of the people through, a system of elected governance.
So it's democracy in action.
Yeah.
With the people's voice at the center.
Exactly. Think about the institutions and processes: universal adult franchise, periodic elections, the rule of law, an independent judiciary.
Yeah.
Each one's crucial for making sure power really is with the people. And for anyone trying to crack the UPSC, understanding these linked parts of Indian democracy, that's vital.
It's like a well-oiled machine with all these parts working together. Now, last but not least, republic. What makes a republic different and what does it mean for India?
A republic just means the head of state isn't a hereditary monarch, but someone who's elected. In India, that's the president, chosen indirectly for a fixed term. It means there's no privileged class. Anyone, no matter their background, can aim for the highest office. It's another cornerstone of equality and democratic values.
So the preamble paints this picture of India where power's with the people, diversity is celebrated, everyone has an equal stake. But is that all? Does it go beyond just describing what kind of state India is?
It does. The preamble lays out 4 big objectives for India: justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity.
Okay.
These aren't just abstract ideals, they shape the very fabric of Indian society. And you guessed it, crucial themes for anyone prepping for the UPSC.
Definitely seeing the UPSC connections here. This is getting good.
Yeah.
Let's dive into those 4 objectives. First up, justice. What does the preamble say about that?
The preamble talks about securing justice, social, economic, and political, for all citizens. A powerful statement, setting the stage for a just and equitable society.
Now, those are some big concepts. Can you break those down? What does each type of justice look like in action, especially for someone trying to understand Indian polity?
Well, think of social justice as ensuring everyone has a level playing field, no matter their background.
Okay.
It's about ending discrimination based on caste, religion, gender, or anything else, uplifting marginalized communities, making sure everyone has the same opportunities to succeed.
So like affirmative action programs or policies for empowering women, those would fall under social justice.
Exactly. They're concrete examples of how the state tries to achieve social justice, putting the ideals of the preamble into action.
Okay, I see. Now, what about economic justice? How does that work in a country with, such big economic differences?
Economic justice is about fairness in the economic sphere, bridging the gap between rich and poor, making sure wages are fair, and creating opportunities for everyone to improve their economic well-being.
So things like progressive taxation, minimum wage laws, rural employment schemes, those are all aimed at economic justice.
You got it. Real-world examples of the state trying to make economic justice happen. And here's where the link between the preamble and the directive principles of state policy is important. These principles, while not legally enforceable, guide the state in making policies that promote economic justice.
So even though the preamble itself isn't a law, it sets the stage for laws and policies that try to achieve those objectives.
Precisely. It's like a moral compass for the state.
Okay.
And finally, we have political justice, ensuring everyone has equal political rights. It guarantees everyone's right to vote, participate in the political process, and hold their leaders accountable.
So political justice ensures that the power really does stay with the people, like the preamble said at the beginning.
Exactly. It's about empowering citizens to shape their own destiny. No one is excluded from the political process. And this ties back to specific articles in the Constitution, guaranteeing fundamental rights like the right to vote and freedom of expression.
This is fascinating. We've covered a lot, but there's still liberty, equality, and fraternity to unpack. We're just getting started. I think we should save this for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, let's jump back into those objectives from the preamble. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. Each one's a cornerstone of the Indian Republic, and, understanding them is crucial for anyone navigating Indian polity, especially UPSC aspirants.
All right, starting with liberty. I'm guessing it's not just about doing whatever we want, whenever we want.
You got it. The preamble guarantees liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. But, and this is important, it's not absolute.
Right.
It comes with reasonable restrictions to make sure one person's freedom doesn't, mess with the rights of others.
So it's finding that balance between individual freedom and, well, the good of society as a whole.
Exactly. And these restrictions, they aren't just random. They're clearly defined in the Constitution to protect individual freedoms while also looking out for the nation's interests.
Makes sense. Freedom with responsibility. Everyone can enjoy their rights without, stepping on each other's toes. Now, equality seems simple, but I bet it's more complicated in practice.
You're right. Equality in India goes beyond just legal equality. Everyone being equal before the law.
Okay.
It aims for equality of status and opportunity, no matter your background.
Leveling the playing field across the board.
That's it. Civic equality, where everyone has the same fundamental rights and freedoms. Political equality, everyone has a say in how the country runs. And, very importantly, economic equality, a fair shot at improving your economic well-being.
Sounds like true equality needs, like a multi-pronged approach, tackling social, political, and economic differences all at once.
Absolutely. This is where understanding the preamble, the fundamental rights, and the directive principles, they all connect. The fundamental rights in Part 3 of the Constitution guarantee those basic